Since 1941, more than 2.5 million fans have heeded the advice of Harry Caray and have clicked the turnstiles to see the stars of tomorrow. Over 100 Jamestown players have graduated to the big show, with Nellie Fox being the only one to go from Jamestown to Cooperstown. What was the backdrop which permitted this jewel to be built in Jamestown, New York?
That you shouldn't live in the past. It's dangerous. But to visit it is just a wonderful experience.
The Jamestown Evening Journal of Tuesday, May 6, 1941 gives two big stories. The excitement of the dedication of the new stadium and the ever-present war which is occurring over in Europe, which to date America has been able to keep out of. The headlines are interspersed between baseball and German and Nazi invasion. Such were the winds of war which were circulating in early 1941. Jamestown entered professional baseball in the new era in 1939. They played in Celeron and had an awful season. After the season, the Pirates left and went to Lockport. Jamestown was without a team. Midway through 1940, Harry Bisgeier, owner of the Niagara Falls team, agreed to transfer to Jamestown and finish the season in Allen Park. And the reason he came was because of the promise of the construction of a new stadium. Hence the excitement in 1941. The two principal architects was Ernie Kessler, chairman of the Citizens Committee, and Judge Alan Barger, head of the Citizens Stadium Committee. Excitement ran wild in Jamestown. Noted equestrian and horse trainer Theo Gainey had her early training in Jamestown baseball. She tells the story of her grandfather's early involvement.
Bought that land from the Curtis farm, which now is where the college is,
Tell me about that.
and gave that to the city.
Your grandfather's name was?
Herbert Aiken.
Herbert Aiken.
Everett Aiken. He's the one, H.E. Babcock from Ithaca, started what was GLF, is now gone down to Agway. Very acreage, and I'll tell you, he was always, I never found that out until later years, and that he had bought that land and given it to the city.
And that ultimately is where the stadium is.
It's where the stadium is today. You get money from people for solicited for the stadium being built. I took my, no, it must have been a horse, and I collected the first $50 in our neighborhood
Every day.
on a horse.
How'd you do that? Did you just?
Well, my grandfather told me I better, I imagine. You know, he was, he said, go out and see if you, anything, and I did get donations of $50.
You were riding the horse through the neighborhood, eh?
Yeah, riding a horse through the neighborhood.
There, he did some interviews. I went to some ball games down there, and it was just like I'd never left. You walk into that stadium, and you know that stadium looks just exactly as it did. When was that stadium built?
41.
41. It was good it was built that year, wasn't it? Because following year, they wouldn't have put up the money for it because of the war.
That's probably
We
right.
couldn't have gotten bricks for it. All the bricklayers would be off training someplace. But
Between 1940 and 1950, penicillin was introduced, and the atom was split. Orson Welles made his masterpiece, Citizen Kane. Rodgers and Hammerstein's Oklahoma opened on Broadway. And Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected president a third time and a fourth. Overshadowing everything was a world war that would cost more than 55 million lives.
I think I was.
Was there a lot
No,
of
if I
festivities?
missed, no, I don't. I want to say for sure because I forget. But if it wasn't the first day, I was up there soon afterwards. Because I can remember who played then too. I think I'm pretty sure easy.
We need to hear it.
Pollock, catcher. The first baseman was Heller, and second baseman was Believy. Shortstop was O'Neill. Third baseman, I think, was no. Coswell was the next year, I think, or maybe he was third baseman because he went up with Buffalo the next year. And there was Johnny Newman, and there was center fielder. I can't hardly remember. I know Lurchin played the next year. He was real good. I always liked him. And there was Rapp. He looked like Andy Gump. He was a good pitcher, a good hitter.
The Jamestown Evening Journal heralds the Pony League champion Jamestown Falcons underneath a headline which states, Jap peace overtures fail. Hence were the times in 1941. The 1941 season marked the advent of two of the Pony League's most widely known men. Manager Greg Malevy, who brought the Falcons their first pennant in organized baseball, and John Newman, who came to Jamestown from Niagara Falls in 1940, and in 1941 was the batting champion with a .358 average, hit 30 home runs to then set a league record. He won the pennant and just narrowly losing the Governor's Cup championship. Harry Bisgeier and the 1941 Falcons looked forward with a great deal of excitement towards 1942. They had attendance of 121,000 people in 1941, which set all-time records in the minor leagues. There's a great deal of baseball fever in Jamestown.
The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem to me, that's everything, the mere idea of you.
The first baseman for the 1941 Jamestown Falcons was Frank Heller. A native of Buffalo, he was born August 2nd, 1920. He graduated from East High School, where he both pitched and played first base before graduating in 1938. During his high school days, he played football, played as a center, and in the backfield. He was also a member of the local American Legion junior baseball team, which won the state championships in 1937 and 1938. He later played on the Saucony Vacuum Muni League team in Buffalo, which held the title for 2 seasons. Frank signed with the Bradford Bees of the Pony League in 1939 for a short period of time, then was released and was picked up in Niagara Falls. Let's hear Frank tell the story. Frank, tell us about Celeron in 1939 when you came here and played against the Jamestown team.
Celeron.
Tell me about Celeron Park. Visualize, if you will.
Well, there was a roller coaster out in right field that I remember. And batting, the sun used to set across the lake and shine right in your eyes because we used to play at 6 o'clock at night. And it was tough hitting, especially Jamestown had a couple of pitchers. One guy by the name of Joe Black. His father was some kind of an executive with Pittsburgh. And he could really throw hard. And boy, when you batted at night there, that was tough going. So, but it was not a great ball field because it wasn't really a ball field, I guess. It was a park. So we played there. That was I didn't like to play out there really because you couldn't see nothing when you were at the plate. Jamestown had some hard throwing guys them days. After we left there, in the following year we come to Allen Park. I remember that had a big canvas all around the park.
'Cause Billy knows just where to walk. And when I talk, I always talk with Billy. 'Cause Billy knows just how to talk. And when I dine, I always dine with Billy. 'Cause he takes me where I get my fill. Want you to know I love him so. I just want to be with Bill.
One of Frank Heller's teammates in 1940 was Sal Magley, who arrived in Jamestown after achieving a 0-7 record in Buffalo that year. In Jamestown, he pitched 7 consecutive complete games. Here's Frank's recollections of Sal.
That's when he played with Niagara Falls. But he was a good pitcher. He had a very good control. And he was not a regular pitcher you see now wind up and throw. He used to throw like darts, it seemed. But he was pretty good. He used to knock them down underneath their chins. He was a funny guy, Sal Magley. He used to have a forehead that came to like a point. He used to butt heads with people. Bet him that he'd knock them out. He did. He used to challenge guys to butt heads.
Like Bobo Brazil, you know? Here's a picture of the all-time left-hander Warren Spahn in a Bradford uniform. His first year in professional baseball was in the Pony League in 1940, and he came to Allen Park and pitched against the Jamestown team. Played against, there wasn't Warren Spahn in the league too?
Oh yeah, he pitched for Bradford.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did you get any sense that of greatness there when Spahn was in?
Well, he always had good control, even when he pitched in Buffalo with South Park High. But I never thought he'd win 363 games, but he did. He was a good pitcher. Had good control, not really fast or anything, but he always got the ball where he wanted it over the plate, I guess. So that's what helps.
This is an exceedingly rare photo taken in 1940 at Allen Park, and at the bat was Johnny Newman, hitting one of his many home runs that year. Frank, what's your recollection of Johnny? Is our mythical Babe Ruth type guy.
He could hit, let me tell you. Johnny knows that. I remember we started off the year, we were both hitting about the same number of home runs for a couple of weeks, and then I said, I'll bet you I'll hit you in home runs, John. He said, that's a bet. I don't know what we bet, $1 or $2. But by the year was over, I had, I don't know, about 16 and he had 40 something. But he could hit them hard, John. Boy, he could hit. Did you stay?
Yeah, did you stay with hotel or did you?
No, I wound up living right across from the firehouse, up above a store back of the humidor. Frank Smirker, I, and Sam Amico lived here. And at night when the fire alarms went off, I was telling my son I used to shoot out of the apartment, hop in the chief's car, and away we'd go to the fire. Went to a lot of fires up there. Rudy Swanson was the chief.
That's right.
Right.
Tell me about Olean's manager, Jake Pittler.
My son on the way down, Jake Pittler, when they went on a road trip to Ontario, Canada, used to get $1.50 a day meal money. He would change the American money into Canadian money here and give the players $1.50 in Canadian money. So the club made 15 cents on the deal. That's how close they played with their money over there. He was a feisty old guy, though, Pittler. He was a institution with the Dodger outfit.
Yeah.
I guess he was with them about 45 years, almost as long as Lasorda.
But he would egg the crowd on, as I understand.
Oh yeah, he was a real showman, I'll tell you. He didn't just stand in a box like they do nowadays and do nothing. He'd jump all over the place.
He had a dozen of balls.
This was part of the 1940 and 41 pitching staff for the Jamestown Falcons.
Walt Palage, Dick Schmidt.
They were big guys.
Oh, Dick Schmidt was a monster. He was about 6'2" and about 220. Palage was tall. Schmirker was big.
What about Medler?
Charlie Medler, yeah, he was
He
big
was
too.
6'7".
The third baseman of the 1941 Jamestown Falcons was Frank Carswell. And here's an interesting story on Frank.
But he came through that too.
Well, I remember Frank Carswell. He was homesick for his mom
My mom
down in
came.
Texas.
Yeah.
So he wanted to go home. And he was having a hell of a year. He's hitting the hell out of the ball. So Harry Bisgar sent for his mother and paid her to stay in Jamestown
That's
so
right.
he wouldn't go home.
That's the truth too. He said, if my mommy can't come, I'm going to
That's
go
right,
home.
he was gonna go home. He wanted to be a big shot. And I hit a triple. It wasn't a triple, I got tagged out at third, but as I slid into third, the third baseman hit me on the chest, and I just rolled over and vomited all over third base. Sugar the dog. That was my last chew in the back. I went into gum from then on.
The man on the far right of this 1941 team picture is Bat Boy Jack Gallagher. And he has some fond memories to share with Frank.
Peanuts. How did he make that much, Sparky?
Well, I know, I made 65. I made, who the hell was making all the money?
I
made 60. How you know?
All the big shots, man.
Yeah, that's right. Because they had a limit. They had a player limit, and they could only be so much on each one.
That's right.
I wonder how much Jack made.
He made more than
anybody. This statute of limitations.
When day by day, Mr. Jack.
Hey, listen, I have to work like hell for my money now. Jesus, wash those damn socks, shine the shoes. Then
Then they cheat you out of your dough anyway.
oh, I have to go to Malevy and say, hey, this guy owes me. This guy owes me.
They did the same thing at Buffalo with Jimmy Hutch.
Did they?
Oh, them guys, he threw all his work and they wouldn't pay him and he'd holler at him, you big lunkhead, you. He used to get mad at him.
But you got all your money, didn't you, Jack?
Eventually.
You had the ultimate remedy,
Jack, if you didn't pay him, he wouldn't give you the sweatshirt or the shirt. That's right. Pay up, cash on delivery.
Then that Bisgar and Sam, they had a bright idea. You know, they could have rented towels or gone out and bought some towels and rent them. So they had me washing the goddamn towels every night. I wore my mother's washing machine out. And I used to have to take over a big bag of towels every night after the game and bring them back. Malevy would pick me up on game days. He'd come off the horn 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd come out with him, great big bundle of towels, and away we'd go. I don't know how much it paid me, a couple cents a piece or something.
Wasn't
Frank,
much.
you ever see Sam? Wasn't much.
Huh?
Ever see Sam and me? Good. He was good. How about Jack?
Let me tell you, there wasn't too much tip in them days, and there wasn't that much money around. But I'll never forget the concession stand. Mrs. Kerner and her daughter Sylvia ran it.
Yeah.
And we'd come out after the game, and the popcorn would be left over. A couple of hot dogs laying on a grill that wasn't sold. Can I have one for a nickel? No way. 10 cents. So I said to Ben, I said, Jesus, your mother's the toughest dame in the world. She won't even give you a whole hot dog for half price. He says, Frank, business is business. When you go out with me, you never pay. But when you buy something, you pay. And that's how he was. They were tough with a buck. Of course, he wound up a millionaire, so must have been a smart practice.
Is he still alive, Ben?
Frank, what about the story between you and Frank Smirker over a certain bet?
Frank Smirker and me said, Frank, when you hit, I don't know how many home runs, and Smirker pitches a shutout, which he hadn't done all year, he said, I'll buy you a good dinner. I said, okay, that's a good deal. But geez, on the last day of the season, I hit the home runs early, but Frank Smirker pitched a shutout the last game. And he invited us over to 210 Pine, and we walked in, and he took us in the cold room where all the sides of beef were hanging all with, what they called,
Refrigeration.
yeah, but they had that cloth on it.
Oh, yeah, right.
And they were all full of green hair. I said, you're going to feed us that? Well, he said, them are real good steaks. When I get them cleaned up, they'll be delicious. So they trimmed them all down and cut all the mold off and everything. And we really had two steaks. Boy, they were about that round, about that thick. And then right after that, he got burned up the next year or two, I think.
The 1941 team struggled until Independence Day. They were, for all their misfortunes, only 4 games out of first. Then the team caught fire. Manager Malivi, who also played second base, led the team to quite a finish. Outscoring their opponents 706 to 512 runs, the Falcons went on a tear and were virtually unstoppable in August. At one point, the team won 15 of 16 games. The Falcons won the league regular season championship in 1941. Frank led the 1941 New Pony League as a top fielder with a .982 percentage, and also led the Jamestown team by collecting the most hits, 145. After the 1941 season, he went back to his hometown of Buffalo and played for the Bisons.
With Buffalo, 43. They sprained my ankle. I was out about 2 months. And in 44, I started with Buffalo. Played about not even a half a season. I went Navy. 2 years I was in there, and then I come out and I got sent to Atlanta, Georgia in the Southern League. We won the pennant, played the Dixie World Series, and got beat by Dallas, who had half of old Buffalo's team with them that year. Hank Oana and a pitcher by the name of Hank Perry, and about 5 or 6 guys that played with Buffalo. And then after that, I went to Williamsport. I played at Williamsport the whole year, 47 and part of 48. And in 49, I went up to the Border League, and I managed the team up there for a year and a half. I retired in 50.
Watertown.
When you were in 43, Frank was playing with Buffalo, and Parky was playing with Buffalo. And I was a kid. I was just, we all went up to Buffalo to take our physicals, pre-induction physicals. Then you pass your physical, say I do, and 2 weeks later you get on the goddamn train and you're gone. So Malivi and always said, now, before you go, you come up and see us. So I went up there, and he took me in the clubhouse in Offerman Stadium. And there was Frank, ranting and raving like he usually does. Gallagher, come here. He said, this son of a bitch, and he's pointing to Parky. He says he saw a high school kid drop kick a football 96 yards in Jamestown. Now tell me it ain't so. Oh, Jesus Christ.
One time in spring training, somebody asked Lyle, he said, Is it a big jump from the D League to Triple A? He said, no, it's only 70 miles from Buffalo. Right. I just told my son this was the friendliest town I ever was in. He had a good time there.
Is it right?
Oh yeah, it was really nice.
The very thought of you, and I forget to do the little ordinary things that everyone ought to do. I'm living in a kind of daydream. I'm happy as a king, and foolish though it may seem, to me that's everything, the mere idea of you.
I'm Kristen Stein, Director of the Fenton History Center in Jamestown, New York. We hope you've enjoyed this presentation, which is just one of many stories from our community's rich history. The Fenton History Center preserves our shared history through the presentation of educational programs and exhibits, the maintenance of a collection of local artifacts and archival materials, and a library specializing in local history and genealogy, all for the benefit and use of the public. For more information about the Fenton History Center and its activities, call 664-6256.